Hey Brijon, and welcome back. In our last video, we left off with a huge cliffhanger. The brutal attack on Prince Kopa by the vengeful lioness, Zira. We saw how Zira, still fiercely loyal to Scar, ambushed the young cub near the waterhole, driven by a thirst for revenge against Simba. Many of you have been asking what happened next. Did Kopa really die? Let's dive right into the heart-wrenching conclusion of the story. After Zira's vicious assault, she left Kopa for dead, believing her mission was complete. She returned to the Outlands, her heart filled with dark triumph, ready to report her success to her followers. Back in the Pride Lands, the alarm was raised. Kopa was missing. Simba and Nala led a frantic search party, their calls echoing across the savannah. The mood, once joyful under Simba's reign, turned somber and fearful. Every rustle in the grass, every shadow brought a fresh wave of panic. It was Timon and Pumbaa who made the grim discovery. They found Kopa's small, motionless body near the edge of the waterhole. The scene was devastating. The Pride Land's cheerful music fell silent, replaced by cries of grief. Simba, upon seeing his son, let out a roar not of a king, but of a heartbroken father. The loss was immeasurable. The hope for the future, the heir to the throne, was gone. Nala was inconsolable, her spirits shattered by the loss of her firstborn. The entire kingdom mourned the death of their young prince. Simba's grief quickly turned to fury. Blinded by rage and pain, he declared Zira and all who followed her exiles. He banished them from the Pride Lands forever, drawing a line in the sand between his kingdom and the desolate outland. This act, born from a father's anguish, set the stage for years of conflict and hatred. The divide between the Pride Landers and the Outlanders was now a chasm of sorrow and resentment, and the memory of Kopa became a painful scar on the heart of the Pride Lands. Zira, in the Outlands, raised her own Kupsnuka, Vitani, and Kovu, feeding them stories of injustice and poisoning their minds with her hatred for Simba. She groomed Kovu not just to be a leader, but to be the instrument of her ultimate revenge, to reclaim the throne and avenge Scar. But here's where the story takes a twist that many people don't know about. While the Pride Lands believed Kopa was dead, was he really? Some versions of the story, popular among fans and derived from the books, suggest that Kopa survived. In this telling, the attack left him severely injured and with no memory of who he was. Found and cared for by other animals far from home, he grew up in hiding, unaware of his royal lineage. Imagine a lost prince living a simple life, while his family mourned a death that never happened. This narrative introduces a powerful element of hope and mystery. Could Kopa still be out there? This alternate timeline opens up so many possibilities. It suggests that while Simba and Nala were raising their new daughter Kiara, their long-lost son was slowly healing, perhaps starting a new life. According to this theory, Rafiki was one of the few who suspected Kopa might still be alive. The wise mandrill, ever connected to the spirits and the circle of life, might have seen signs that the young prince's journey wasn't over. He kept this hope to himself, waiting for the right moment, for the great kings of the past to reveal their plan. Think about the impact this would have on the events of the Lion King too. Simba's pride. If Kopa were to return, how would that change things? His reappearance would be a shock to everyone. For Simba, it would be a miracle, the return of his son he thought he had lost forever. But it would also create a complex dilemma. Kiara had been raised as the future queen. The laws of the monarchy would dictate that Kopa, as the firstborn male, was the rightful heir. This would create an unprecedented succession crisis in the Pride Lands. And what about Kovu and Vit? Their entire lives were built on Zira's lie that Simba was a merciless king who exiled them for no reason. Kopa's return would expose Zira's ultimate deception. He would be living proof of her cruelty and the true reason for their exile. This revelation could shatter the Outlanders' loyalty to Zira's cause, and perhaps even change Kovusa and Vitania's perspectives entirely. Vitani, in particular, who eventually sees the light and joins Simba's pride, might have found her path to redemption sooner had she known the truth about Kopa. So, while the official movie canon moves on with Kiara and Kovu, the story of Kopa remains a powerful what-if in the Lion King universe. His tragic death is the catalyst for the entire conflict in the second movie, shaping Simba into an overprotective father and fueling Zira's vengeful fire for years. Whether you believe he died that day or survived to live in anonymity, Kopa's tale is a crucial, albeit heartbreaking, piece of the Lion King saga. It adds layers of depth, tragedy, and intrigue to the world we all love. What do you think? Do you believe Kopa died? Or do you like the idea of the lost prince returning? Let me know your theories in the comments below. This story really shows how one event can create ripples that affect Rafiki and exploring with his friends. The books paint a picture of a happy royal family, with Simba and Nala raising their energetic cub. But then, The Lion King 2. Simba's pride was released, and Kopa was nowhere to be found. Instead, we were introduced to Kiara, Simba's daughter, and the new heir. This created a huge continuity problem and left fans wondering, where did Kopa go? Why was he replaced? The movies never mention him, not even say. It's as if he never existed. This is where the fan theories come in. The most popular one is dark and tragic. It suggests that Kopa was killed by Zira, Scar's vengeful follower. According to this theory, Zira, consumed by her loyalty to Scar and hatred for Simba, saw Kopa as a way to hurt the king. She couldn't get to Simba directly, so she targeted his son. The theory goes that Zira ambushed the young prince when he was alone, perhaps exploring near the Outlands. A fierce fight ensued. But Kopa, just a cub, was no match for a full-grown, battle-hardened lioness. Zira attacked him, leaving him for dead. When Simba found his son, he was devastated, believing Kopa was gone forever. This tragedy would explain so much about Simba's behavior in the second movie. Remember how overprotective he is of Kiara? He's constantly worried, setting up Timon and Pumbaa to follow her everywhere. This isn't just a father being cautious. It's the behavior of a parent who has already suffered an unimaginable loss. The trauma of losing his firstborn son would have made him terrified of history repeating itself with Kiara. It also explains the deep-seated animosity between Simba and Zira. Their conflict in Simba's pride feels deeply personal, more than just a power struggle. If Zira was responsible for Kopa's death, Simba's rage and his decision to exile her and her followers make perfect sense. It was punishment for the ultimate crime against his family. Zira's famous line, "This is for you, Scar," could have been her twisted justification for her actions against Kopa. It's important to remember that this is a fan theory. The creators of Simba's Pride have stated that they were not aware of Kopa when they made the film. They simply wanted to tell a new story with a female protagonist, a Romeo and Juliet with lions. From a production standpoint, Kiara was a fresh character for a new narrative, and Kopa was simply written out of the main movie canon. However, the Kopa theory has become so popular that it is almost an unofficial part of the lore for many fans. It bridges the gap between the books and the second movie, providing a powerful, emotional backstory that enriches the entire saga. It adds layers of depth to Simba's character, turning him from a simple, overprotective dad into a grieving father haunted by his past. But what if Kopa didn't die? Another, more hopeful version of the theory suggests that Kopa survived Zira's attack. Badly injured, he either ran away in fear or was found and raised by another pride, suffering from amnesia. In this scenario, Kopa grows up far from the Pride lands, with no memory of his royal lineage. This opens up a whole new world of storytelling possibilities. Imagine a grown-up Kopa, strong and wise, eventually finding his way back home. How would he react to seeing his family again? How would Kiara, the current heir, feel about her long-lost brother's return? It would create a fascinating dynamic and a potential succession crisis in the Pride lands. This Lost Prince narrative is a classic for a reason, and it's one that many fans have embraced, writing their own stories and creating art about Kopa's triumphant return. This alternate theory also ties into The Lion Guard, the Disney Junior series that introduces Simba and Nala's second son and Kiara's younger brother. The Lion Guard takes place during the time jump in Simba's Pride, further complicating the timeline. The show's creators have acknowledged Kopa with one director, Ford Riley, suggesting that perhaps Kopa went off to start his own Pride, which is why he isn't seen in the movies or the show. This is a much happier, less dramatic explanation. It positions Kopa not as a tragic victim, but as an independent leader on his own journey. So, we have three main possibilities. Kopa was tragically killed by Zira, explaining Simba's trauma. Kopa survived and is living in exile, waiting for his return. Or, Kopa was simply a book character who was overwritten by the movies and later shows. Officially, within the Disney movie and TV show canon, Kopa doesn't exist. Kiara and Kion are Simba and Nola's only children. The books where Kopa originated are considered part of a separate continuity, but the power of a good story is that it takes on a life of its own. And the story of Kopa has resonated with millions of fans. It's a testament to how invested we are in these characters and their world. The mystery of Kopa adds a layer of maturity and complexity to The Lion King. It explores themes of loss, grief, and trauma in a way that the movies only touch upon. It makes the world of the Pride Lands feel bigger and more dangerous. A place where not every story has a happy ending. So, what do you believe? Was Kopa a tragic casualty of Zira's revenge? Is he a lost prince waiting to reclaim his birthright? Or is he just a forgotten character from a book series? The beauty is there's no single right answer. The legend of Kopa is kept alive by the fans, and his story can be whatever you want it to be. It's a fascinating piece of Disney history. A what-if scenario that has sparked endless creativity and debate. Whether he died, survived, or was simply retconned. His exile, and his triumphant return to reclaim the Pride Lands from his villainous uncle, Scar. We cheered when he and Nala took their rightful place as king and queen, and we celebrated the birth of their heir, Kiara, at the end of the first film. But what if I told you there's a darker, hidden chapter to this story? A tale of a lost prince, a forgotten son, whose fate was so tragic it was wiped from the official history of the Pride Lands. Today, we delve into the shadows of Pride Rock to uncover the heartbreaking story of Kopa, Simba's firstborn son, and the dark night that changed everything. This isn't a story you'll find in the movies. It comes from a series of books released in the 90s, called The Lion King. 6 new adventures in T-series, long before Kiara was ever imagined. Simba and Nala had a son named Kopa. He was a curious and adventurous cub, much like his father was. He had a golden brown tuft of fur on his head and a spirit full of mischief and wonder. Kopa loved listening to stories, especially the ones about his heroic father and his evil great Scar. He would spend his days exploring the Pride Lands, making friends with other animals, and getting into the usual cub-sized trouble. He was the beloved prince, the future king, and the pride and joy of his parents. But Kopa's curiosity would ultimately lead him down a dangerous path. In the Pride Lands, even after Scar's defeat, a remnant of his legacy lingered. Zira, a fiercely loyal follower of Scar, and her pride of outcast lionesses, harbored a deep-seated hatred for Simba and his family. They saw Simba as a usurper and believed Scar was the rightful king. Zia, in particular, was consumed by a desire for revenge, a cold, burning fire that waited for the perfect moment to strike. And that moment, tragically, would involve the innocent young prince, Kopa. One day, Kopa, in his youthful innocence, befriended a cub named Vitani. Vitani was one of Zira's own children. Through their friendship, Kopa learned about the Outlands and the lionesses who lived there. He didn't understand the deep-seated hatred they held for his family. He just saw their lions. He often visited the Watering Hole, a neutral ground between the Pride Lands and the Outlands, where he would meet with It was during one of these secret meetings that he came face to face with the embodiment of pure hatred. Zira saw in Kopa not a playful cub, but the son of her enemy. She saw the perfect target for her vengeance. The details of what happened next are chilling. The books describe a brutal and sudden attack. Zira, driven by her rage, cornered the young prince. Kopa, small and defenseless, was no match for the furious lioness. The confrontation was swift and violent. Zira attacked Kopa, leaving him for dead. The Pride Lands' brightest light was seemingly extinguished in an act of pure, cold-blooded revenge. Imagine the horror for Simba and Nala. Their son, their heir, had vanished. They searched frantically, calling his name, their roars echoing across the savannah, but all they found was silence. The grief that descended upon the Pride Lands was immeasurable. Simba, who'd already lost his own father in a traumatic way, now believed he had lost his son. The pain was unbearable. To protect themselves from this devastating loss, and perhaps to protect the kingdom from the crushing despair, a collective amnesia seemed to fall over the Pride Lands. Kopa's name was no longer spoken. It was as if he had never existed. The pain was too great to bear, so they buried it deep, hoping to forget the darkest night the Pride Lands had ever known. This act of forgetting is why, when The Lion King 2, Simba's pride was released, we were introduced to Kiara, with no mention of an older brother. From a storytelling perspective, it was a clean slate. The creators of the sequel wanted to tell a new story, a Romeo and Juliet tale with lions, and a pre-existing male heir would have complicated that narrative. So, Kopa was effectively written out of the film canon. For movie-only fans, Kiara was, and always has been, Simba's first and only child. But for those who read the books, Kopa's story adds a layer of profound sadness and depth to Simba's character in the sequel. Think about it. Simba's extreme overprotectiveness of Kiara in the second film suddenly makes so much more sense. It's not just the paranoia of a king. It has the desperate fear of a father who has already lost one child to the dangers of the world, and specifically to the followers of Scar. His anxiety, his strict rules, his constant worrying, it all stems from the trauma of losing Kopa. He sees Zara's daughter, Kovu, and he doesn't just see a threat. He sees a painful reminder of the past, a symbol of the hatred that stole his son from him. The loss of Kopa secretly informs every decision Simba makes as a father to Kiara. So, what really happened to Kopa? Did he actually die that day? The original books leave his fate ambiguous, implying he was killed. However, the fan community, unwilling to let the young prince's story end so tragically, has created countless theories and stories where Kopa survives. In many of these fan-made tales, Kopa is found and raised in secret, far from the Pride Lands. He grows up unaware of his royal lineage, only to one day learn the truth and be faced with the choice of returning to a family that thinks he is dead. Some stories have him returning after Kiara and Kovu have united the Prides, creating a complex and dramatic family reunion. These fan theories are a testament to how deeply Kopa's story resonates with people. He's the lost prince, the tragic hero whose story was never officially told on screen. He represents a what-if scenario that adds a whole new dimension to the Lion King universe. The idea that Simba and Nala suffered such a profound loss makes their story even more powerful and their eventual triumph even more meaningful. It makes the Pride Lands feel more real, a place where joy and tragedy are deeply intertwined. While Disney has never officially confirmed Kopa's existence in the film universe, his legacy lives on through the books and the passionate fan base that keeps his memory alive. He is a ghost in the narrative, a shadow that hangs over Pride Rock. His story is a poignant reminder that even in our most beloved childhood tales, there can be hidden layers of darkness and sorrow. The death, or disappearance, of Kopa remains the Pride Land's darkest secret. A story of Kopa when they made the movie, and The Lion Guard, the more recent TV series, complicates things even further by introducing Kion, Simba, and Nala's second-born child. The show completely ignores Kopa, essentially writing him out of the official timeline. Now, Kion is the younger brother of Kiara. So, where does that leave Kopa? He exists in the strange limbo, a what-if character kept alive by the passion of the fans. He represents a darker, more complex version of the Lion King story that many find compelling. The idea of Simba suffering such a profound loss adds a depth to his character that Simba's pride only hints. The Kopa theory is a testament to how much people love this world and its characters. Fans took a continuity error, a gap between the books and the movies, and wove a powerful narrative of loss, revenge, and trauma. They created a reason for Simba's fear, for Zira's banishment, and for the deep rift between the two prides. Whether you believe Kopa was tragically murdered, ran away and survived, or was simply replaced in the timeline by Kiara and Kion, His story remains one of the most fascinating pieces of Lion King lore. It shows that even decades later, the story of Pride Rock continues to grow and evolve, not just by its creators, but by the fans who carry its legacy forward. What do you think happened to Simba's lost son? Let me know your theories in the comments below. What if Simba, after reclaiming the Pride Lands, found himself haunted not just by memories, but by the very shadow of his uncle, Scar? What if Scar's legacy was more than just a ruined kingdom, but a darkness that threatened to consume Simba himself? This isn't the story, you know. This is the story of a king battling an enemy within, an enemy that looks just like him. After the glorious celebration of his return, a quiet unease began to settle over Simba. The Pride Lands were healing, the herds were returning, but the scars on the land were a constant, nagging reminder. Mori Tanpad, the scars on his own heart felt deeper than ever. He saw his father, Mufasa, in the clouds, but when he looked into a pool of water, he saw a different reflection. He saw Scar. It started subtly, a flash of anger, a sharp command to a lioness that sounded less like Mufasa and more like the tyrant he'd overthrown. Nala noticed it first, the way his eyes would narrow, the impatient flick of his tail. She'd gently place a paw on his, her touch a silent question. "I'm fine," he'd insist, his voice a low growl that betrayed his words. But he wasn't fine. The weight of the crown was heavier than he ever imagined. It wasn't just about ruling, it was about not ruling like Scar. The pressure mounted with every decision. A dispute between two antelope herds needed a firm hand. But was his firmness justice, or was it tyranny? When the hyenas, starving and desperate, pleaded from the borders of the Pride Lands, a part of Imacold, practical part that sounded chillingly like Scar, whispered to let them perish. It would be easier. It would be... efficient. He recoiled from the thought, horrified. This wasn't him. This couldn't be him. Rafiki, ever the wise mystic, saw the storm brewing in Simba's soul. He found the young king one evening, staring out at the shadowy elephant graveyard. "The past can cast a long shadow, Simba," the old mandrill said, his voice gentle. Simba turned, his face a mask of turmoil. "I try to be like my father, Rafiki. I try so hard, but sometimes I feel Scar's influence, his anger, his cruelty ... pulling at me. What if I'm more like him than I am like Mo?" Rafiki didn't offer a simple answer. Instead, he led Simba to the same pool where he'd first shown him Mufasa's reflection. "Look again," Rafiki urged. Simba hesitated, then peered into the water. He saw his own face, his mane now full and regal. But as he stared, the image flickered. "Esau Mufasa," a noble gaze. But then, for a terrifying second, he saw Scar's cunning sneer. "You see?" Simba whispered, his voice trembling. "He's still there." Rafiki tapped his staff on the ground. "Scar was your father's brother. His blood is in you, yes, but blood is not destiny. A shadow is only as powerful as the light you refuse to shine." He pointed his staff at Simba's chest. "The true king is not the one who is perfect. The true king is the one who fights the darkness within himself every single day." Mufasa fought his own battles. Simba, now you must fight yours. Simba's battle was a silent one, fought not on the plains, but in the chambers of his own heart. He began to actively question his own motives. When he felt a surge of rage, he would force himself to pause, to breathe, to remember Nala's gentle touch and Timon and Pumbaa's unwavering friendship. He started seeking counsel, not just from Rafiki, but from Zazu and even Sarabi, his mother. He learned that leadership wasn't about solitary, absolute power, as Scar had believed. It was about community, about trust, about shared wisdom. One of the hardest tests came when a pack of rogue lions, remnants of Scar's old guard, challenged his rule. They sneered, calling him weak, calling him a pale imitation of his father. The old Simba, the one haunted by Scar's shadow, would have met their challenge with brute force. He would have answered their violence with overwhelming power to prove his strength. The urge was there, a roaring fire in his chest, He could feel Scar's voice egging him on, telling him to crush them, to show no mercy. But instead, Simba stood his ground, his voice calm and steady. He didn't roar. He spoke. He spoke of a new way, a new pride lands built on respect, not fear. He acknowledged their grievances but refused to be baited into a fight on Scar's terms. He offered them a choice. Join this new circle of life or leave in peace. Some of the rogues, surprised by his restraint, lowered their claws. They saw not weakness, but a different kind of strength. A strength Scar never possessed. They saw a king who was truly in control, not of voters, but of himself. Nala stood beside him, her presence a source of immense strength. She had never doubted him. Not really. She saw his struggle, and she loved him not in spite of it, but because of it. Her love was a light that helped chase away the deepest parts of the shadow. After the rogues dispersed, she nuzzled his mane. "That was your father's wisdom," she murmured. Simba looked at her, a genuine smile finally reaching his eyes. "No," he said softly. "That was mine." He was finally beginning to understand. He wasn't Mufasa, and he wasn't Scar. He was Simba. His legacy wouldn't be a perfect reflection of his father's, nor would it be a dark echo of his uncle's. It would be his own, forged in the fires of his own internal struggle. The shadow of Scar would likely always be there. A faint whisper on the wind, a flicker in the reflection, but it no longer had power over him. He had faced the darkness inside himself and chosen the light. The story of the Lion King is often seen as a simple tale of good versus evil. But what if it's more complex? What if the greatest battle isn't against an external foe, but against the potential for darkness that lies within us all? Simba's journey wasn't complete when he threw Scar from Pride Rock. It was just beginning. His true victory was in the quiet, daily struggle to be a good king, a good lion, a good self. He learned that being a king wasn't about having a flawless past, but about building a better future, one choice at a time. The shadow of Scar taught Simba a lesson Mufasa never could. That true strength is not the absence of weakness, but the courage to overcome it. And in that, Simba became a greater king than anyone could have ever imagined. What do you think? And if you enjoy exploring the hidden depths of your favorite stories, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.